Tutankhamen, or Ancient Egyptian, 1341 BC. c. 1323 BC, was the 13th pharaoh of the 18th Dynasty of ancient Egypt, who ruled c. 1323 BC. Born Tutankhaten, he instituted the restoration of the traditional polytheistic form of ancient Egyptian religion, undoing a previous shift to the religion known as Atenism. Tutankhamun's reign is considered one of the greatest restoration periods in ancient Egyptian history, and his tomb door proclaims his dedication to illustrative constructions of the ancient Egyptian gods. His endowments and restorations of cults were recorded on the restoration stela. The cult of the god Amun at Thebes was restored to prominence, and the royal couple changed their names to Tutankhamun and Ankhesenamun, replacing the Aten suffix. He also moved the royal court from Akhenaten's capital, Amarna, back to Memphis almost immediately on his accession to the kingship. He re-established diplomatic relations with the Mitanni and carried out military campaigns in Nubia and the Near East. Tutankhamun was one of only a few kings known to be worshipped as a deity during their lifetime. He likely began construction of a royal tomb in the Valley of the Kings and an accompanying mortuary temple, but both were unfinished at the time of his death. Tutankhamun died unexpectedly aged about 18. His health and the cause of his death have been the subject of much debate. In 2012, it was suggested he died from a combination of malaria and a leg fracture. Since his royal tomb was incomplete, he was instead buried in a small non-royal tomb adapted for the purpose. He was succeeded by his vizier Ai, who was probably an old man when he became king and had a short reign. Ai was succeeded by Horemheb, who had been the commander-in-chief of Tutankhamun's armed forces. Under Horemheb, the restoration of the traditional ancient Egyptian religion was completed. Ai and Tutankhamun's constructions were usurped, and earlier Amarna period rulers were erased. In modern times, Tutankhamun became famous as a result of the 1922 discovery of his tomb, KV 62, by a team led by the British Egyptologist Howard Carter and sponsored by the British aristocrat George Herbert. Although it had clearly been raided and robbed in ancient times, it retained much of its original contents, including the king's undisturbed mummy. The discovery received worldwide press coverage. With over 5,000 artifacts, it gave rise to renewed public interest in ancient Egypt, for which Tutankhamun's mask, preserved at the Egyptian Museum, remains a popular symbol. Some of his treasures have traveled worldwide, with unprecedented response. The Egyptian government allowed tour of the tomb beginning in 1961. The deaths of some individuals who were involved in the excavation have been popularly attributed to the curse of the pharaohs due to the similarity of their circumstances. Since the discovery of his tomb, he has been referred to colloquially as King Tutankhamen. Tutankhamun was born in the reign of Akhenaten, during the Amarna period of the late 18th Dynasty of Egypt. His original name was Tutankhaten or Tutankhaten, meaning living image of Aten, c. reflecting the shift in ancient Egyptian religion known as Atenism, which characterized Akhenaten's reign. His parentage is debated as they are not attested in surviving inscriptions. He was certainly a prince, as a fragmentary inscription from Hermopolis refers to Tutankhaten as a king's son. He is generally thought to have been the son of Akhenaten or his successor Smenkhkare. Inscriptions from Tutankhamun's reign treat him as a son of Akhenaten's father, Amenhotep III, but that is only possible if Akhenaten's 17-year reign included a long co-regency with his father, a possibility that many Egyptologists once supported, but is now being abandoned. 15. His mother has been variously suggested to be Akhenaten's chief wife Nefertiti, Amenhotep III's daughter Bikitaten, or Akhenaten's daughters Meritaten or Meketaten. Tutankhamun was wet-nursed by a woman named Maya, known from her tomb at Saqqara. DNA testing identified his father as the mummy from tomb KV 55, thought to be Akhenaten, but due to the developmental condition of the mummy's skeleton, most scholars estimate the age to be around 20, thus effectively ruling out the possibility of Akhenaten. Other scholars believe he was Smenkhkare. His mother as the younger lady, an anonymous mummy cached in tomb KV 35. His parents were full siblings, both being children of Amenhotep III and his chief wife Tai. The identity of the younger lady is unknown, but she cannot be Nefertiti, as she was not known to be a sister of Akhenaten. However, researchers such as Mark Gabald and Aidan Dodson claim that Nefertiti was indeed Tutankhamun's mother. In this interpretation of the DNA results, the genetic closeness is not due to a brother-sister pairing, but the result of 3 generations of first-cousin marriage, making Nefertiti a first cousin of Akhenaten. The validity and reliability of the genetic data from mummified remains have been questioned due to possible degradation due to decay. Today, scholars consider the mummy from tomb KV55 not to be Akhenaten, but rather Smenkhkare. The younger lady is more likely not any of Akhenaten's known wives, but one of Ti's younger daughters, perhaps Nebeta or Bikitaten, or possibly the two were the same person, who changed her name at the beginning of Akhenaten's reign. When Tutankhaten became king, he married Enkhesenpon, one of Akhenaten's daughters, who later changed her name to Enkhesenamun. He fathered 2 daughters who died at or soon after birth and were buried with him in his tomb. Computed tomography studies published in 2011 revealed that one daughter was born prematurely at 5-6 months of pregnancy and the other at full term, 9 months. DNA testing has suggested the anonymous mummy KV21A is their mother, but the data is not statistically significant enough to allow her to be securely identified as his only known wife, Enkhesenamun. Tutankhamun's death marked the end of the royal bloodline of the 18th dynasty.